Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the EBI Seminar Series. In our fourth installment of the Biomass to Breakthrough series, we're joined by Professor Gavin Collins, Associate Professor of Microbiology at the University of Galway. His work focuses on the circular bioeconomy, macroalgae-based bioenergy, and microbial ecology. He'll give us a quick look at anaerobic digestion, the microbially driven process that turns organic matter into renewable biogas, and why macroalgae is becoming such a promising feedstock. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the session. Hi, Gavin. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm great, Melanie. Thank you. And how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. So
Sure.
today we'll be talking a little bit about anaerobic digestion and how the process works, the technologies behind it, and its potential when applied to feedstocks like macroalgae. To start off, can you explain what anaerobic digestion is?
Sure. I would say anaerobic digestion is this sort of catch-all term which describes the entire microbial community of lots of different groups of microbes involved in breaking down organic matter, such as leaf litter or fecal matter or dead plants or dead animals, in environments where there is no oxygen. So it's part of the natural carbon cycle, but it's the part which involves degradation under anaerobic conditions. So it happens in swamps and bogs, paddy fields, fens. It happens in the rumen of cows, for example. And it involves this coordinated, cooperative, and sequential action of different groups of microorganisms. So, firstly, there are the hydrolyzers. They're secreting enzymes which break down polymers like fats and proteins and carbohydrates into simpler monomers. The next group is the fermenters. They then ferment those small molecules into acids and alcohols. Then the acetogens, they're another wide group of bacteria which use the fermentation products to get energy and in the process make hydrogen and acetate. And those then are the substrates for the final group, the methanogens or the methane makers. And those make the methane, which is the main component of the biogas produced by anaerobic digestion. It's a natural process, but it can be applied under engineered conditions.
And how are we actually capturing this biogas, and what are some of the technologies that are used in this process?
Sure. So, under natural conditions, this biogas is effectively a greenhouse gas, but under engineered conditions, where we control the process, we can capture methane containing biogas and it can be used as a biofuel. So, we use specialized engineered bioreactors, we use fairly specialized active AD microbial communities, anaerobic digestion microbial communities. And we essentially hijack or exploit the natural anaerobic digestion process so that we can convert wastes and other feedstocks into methane containing biogas. So we can use various different bioreactor designs and even the microbial community can be applied in different ways. It may be present as a sludge or perhaps even as a sticky, slimy biofilm attached to surfaces, much like the plaque on your teeth.
Right, so we have the process and the technology, but what are some of the useful products that come out of this process?
Sure. Well, the principal product is the methane containing biogas, and we can use that as a fuel. So it can be used as a vehicle fuel or to generate electricity, or maybe even injected into the natural gas grid and get piped to homes and businesses for heating. Um, in addition to that, there are also various residues. So the leftover organic material after the biogas has been made, those residues then can be used as natural fertilizers. The carbon has been displaced into the biogas, and now the residues are relatively rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, which can be used to fertilize crops. Um, Indeed, the residues could also be used in incinerators and combusted to make energy, or maybe even used in the production of maybe next generation alternative biomaterials or building materials and so on. So there are lots of different possibilities.
Great. So now stepping back a little bit, where is anaerobic digestion most commonly used today?
Sure. Well, I would say there are three main scenarios. Anaerobic digestion is firstly a key part of the sewage wastewater treatment, which takes place in every town and city around the world. It's usually one of the last steps of that process. Indeed, in rural communities, it's the main process that takes part in septic tanks. Uh, Secondly, I would say that it's used for the treatment of industrial wastewaters. So there may be an anaerobic digester in the backyard of a factory that's involved in food production or perhaps in pharmaceuticals or fine chemicals manufacturing, or even in industries involved in, say, brewing and distilling alcoholic beverages. So those are all involved in using anaerobic digestion. And lastly, I think the next main scenario is for the treatment of agricultural wastes. So for manures and slurries from pigs and cows and other animals. So biogas is recovered and the residues are then used as fertilizers.
And can you expand on what kinds of feedstocks can be used in this process?
Sure. Well, potentially anything that can be biodegraded could be used as a feedstock in an anaerobic digester. Um, we can, for example, use energy crops, say maize, corn. It can be grown specifically for the purpose of making bioenergy. So that's an example of a first generation feedstock. And I guess it invites some controversy because it sparks the food versus fuel debate because it potentially displaces land and resources that otherwise could be used for food production. We can use wastes, as I've just mentioned previously, from, say, agriculture. So those feedstocks might be thought of as second generation feedstocks. Um, there are others, such as third generation feedstocks as well, and maybe we'll have time to talk about those.
Yeah, so from my understanding, macroalgae or seaweed is one of the feedstocks that you primarily work with. So, what are some of the qualities of macroalgae that make it suitable for anaerobic digestion?
Sure. So we have started to work with macroalgae, particularly through our work with the IBMC. And some of the features that make macroalgae particularly suitable for the anaerobic digestion process include the fact that there is no lignin in seaweeds, which makes it easier to degrade the macroalgal biomass. They're also particularly fast growing, significantly faster than terrestrial plants. So the biomass is available very quickly again after harvesting. And lastly, we can circumvent the need for fresh water or for fertilizers for the growth of macroalgae.
And how do seasonal availability, harvesting, and storage affect feedstocks, such as macroalgae's viability in an AD system?
Sure, that's a good question. Ideally, I would say a constant, even supply of feedstock is required by anaerobic digesters. And some species of macroalgae may have relatively narrow growing and harvesting seasons. So this may mean that we have at particular times more biomass than the anaerobic digestion system, or indeed the market for the biogas or the other end products can cope with. So one possible solution to even out this supply is to preserve the macroalgae after harvesting. So we could, for example, ensile the macroalgae. So ensiling is a process pretty similar to pickling or essentially kind of making kimchi from the macroalgae. And then we can use that preserved macroalgal biomass when and as it's required by the anaerobic digestion plant. Um, of course, we also need to then understand the implications for the anaerobic digestion process. For example, we need to understand the effect of using preserved macroalgae on the microbiology of the anaerobic digestion process.
So, looking towards applications, what are the most promising uses of anaerobic digestion of macroalgae, and how might this technology be integrated into existing energy or waste management systems?
Sure. Well, I think probably the most promising application of the anaerobic digestion of the macroalgae is perhaps as part of biorefineries that also recover other valuable products from the seaweed. So that might include pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, cosmeceuticals, and even, say, antibacterial or antiviral compounds. So, in this way, the anaerobic digestion process can be used to pair up biorefining with energy recovery and provide a pathway for circularity where the residues are sustainably valorized and managed. And that really sums up a lot of the focus of our work in partnership with the IBMC. So this is generally known as a cascading biorefinery with all of those different steps along the way. And I think regarding the other part of your question, which was integrating into existing energy or waste processing systems, um, yes, I think the trends do support that, and they're pointing toward co-digesting the macroalgae or the macroalgal residues along with other feedstocks, such as agricultural waste or domestic sewage. But generally, I guess I would say we have to be imaginative about uh, how we find such solutions.
And finally, on a bigger picture note, what are some of the challenges of scaling AD to use macroalgae, and how can we overcome them to make this a possibility in our future?
Sure. Well, I would say the first challenge in scaling this process is coping with the seawater, which comes along with the macroalgal biomass. So it brings salts and other elements such as a sulfate which can inhibit the anaerobic digestion process. So we may, for example, need to develop salt-tolerant anaerobic digestion microbiomes to cope with such conditions. And there might be other particular problems in, say, co-scaling the biogas production process alongside some of the other steps of a biorefinery. So there may be a mismatch sometimes between the scalability of different stages of this process. So we need to understand the markets better, and we need to understand how we can optimize those different stages so that co-scaling may be more easily possible. And lastly, I would say that scaling the anaerobic digestion process has historically been based on the application of empirical data, with maybe not enough focus or attention on the microbiology of the process and the needs and requirements of the microbes involved. So I think we have a lot of work to do actually in understanding the microbiology of anaerobic digestion to ensure that we can indeed successfully apply it at different scales and for feedstocks such as the macroalgae.
Well, that was all of our questions. Thank you, Gavin, for joining us in this conversation today to share your research and insight on anaerobic digestion. And we hope you have a good rest of your day.
Sure, my pleasure, Melanie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Biomass to Breakthrough Seminar Series, where we explore how renewable feedstocks can be transformed into fuels, plastics, and other sustainable products. If you enjoyed the session, be sure to like and subscribe for more content on biomass conversion and the clean energy transition. You can also catch up on previous talks or follow us on social media, all linked in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.